Beloved, I was reminded that the Shiva that we had looked at before, that Obama and his people were making the face of Shiva, that and the third, or the little horn between their eyes, and the blue um, genie that the lady at the church in Reading claims that their God is, and there's the Tower of Babel. You see, Shiva represents the destroyer. So we're talking about spiritual wickedness in high places in the world. These kings of the earth, as the book of Revelation says, these mighty men, these merchantmen, they have these sorcerers. They have another God. They have another Jesus, and they have other gods. And this is the Epistle of Jude. Certain men crept in unawares. And this is the Antichrist being exposed, which is Mystery Babylon, which means all religions into one religion, which they all have the same Hindu, uh, Muslim, and Kabbalah and Buddhist God, which is not the God of heaven, is not the Word of God and the commandments of God. These people do not obey the commandments of God. In fact, they become the abomination that causes desolation, that gets inside of them, just like the Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodomy was an entrance for those spirits because, like I had shown you, it gets up on the spine, and sodomy, it it does something to their body that gets them. There's different ways for them to get their fire from Satan, and there's chanting. They can do chanting. They stick out their tongue and they look up to the sky like a lion also, and like a serpent. They do different hand gestures, or they call them mantras, and their deeds, they do these things in secret, and whatever gets into them, it causes them to be desolate. Their house gets broken into. Jesus said, be careful that your house doesn't get broken into, your body, because your body's supposed to be the temple of the living God, not for these things to come in. But those who are part of the world, who have not been written in the Lamb's Book of Life, they are becoming, they're listening to the devil, and they're part of the world, and they don't receive the love of the truth, that they would believe a lie, that this is their way to ascend up into godhood, or that transgender, because transgender is one of the many Hindu, Buddhist, what do you call it, one of their many gods. They don't know what they're worshiping, and that's why we give the good news of Jesus Christ. We have to know that revelation was for our time, so we would understand what Mystery Babylon is, that it's many religions into one. Kabbalism gets this, they call it the tree of life, and they get this fire, and they get this opening of this enlightenment, this tree. They think they are the tree of life. And same with the what do they call it, Freemason light or illumination, or the uh, luminaries. And we see luminaries in the beginning of our Bible, where God had made the luminaries. But this is actually the golden age of enlightenment, is really the golden calf, because what happens is they are being made into an image like unto a beast, and that is when they become like a serpent. A serpent was the beast in Genesis, so they become like the cattle. The serpent was it was more cursed than all the cattle in the field. So God was saying that it was like a cattle, and man was made in God's image, not in an image that looks like a cattle. And Jesus was the image of God. This is the image of the beast. So I hope that we can understand that that's what Apollyon is, the Kabbalah of the Jews. something else enters into them, just like Judas Iscariot. Jesus said that something entered into him and he decided what to do and that he was going to spy them out. And so these spirits, Satan and his spirit and his fallen angels, they are in these people who fall for this lie, that they would believe a lie, that this is the way to God, that this is the way of enlightenment, and that they are God, or they are the I ams, as we saw in, or Obama and the prince did, and the queen, where they thought they were the I am. And they made the sign of destruction, because I believe most of these people have already become desolate and something else is in them. And so we're not dealing with these people anymore. We're dealing with principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Like Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, he had a serpent. He was a serpent, and his magicians had serpents, right? So this is what we're talking about. And God said that the Egyptians are not God in the scriptures, but they think they're God. And that's what we see and that was whenever Moses was battling the Pharaoh and his army, who was a serpent king. And God said to them, they're not God. The Egyptians are not God. So why are all these people who put the pyramid on the dollar bill, who call themselves illuminated with some light, why do they think they're God, or why do they think they're the I am? Well, because they're doing whatever they want. They're making themselves, they're not listening to the commandments of God. They're listening to the commandments of men, of themselves, and do whatever they want. And that's the image of the beast, because Aleister Crowley was the Freemasons' king, which was, he called himself a beast, and he said, do as thou wilt. So he was part of this whole Satanist, Luciferian light, but it's the light that leads to darkness. So I hope that this blesses you. Agape love.